of course, were the lucky ones. Most of the inhabitants lived in archaic wooden shanties with aluminum roofs, sequestered in what had once been the financial district of New York City before the gleaming skyscrapers were demolished. But whether the people were in apartments or shanties, each storm battered their homes even further, threatening to sweep them all away the next time the clouds darkened and the thunder roared. Each drop of rain spelled potential doom. Still, those living below were strong. They built and rebuilt using whatever materials they could to fortify their homes. They leaned on one another, holding tight to the community they'd carried across the sea. It wouldn't be the first time Nubians experienced a flood. On this rainy night, a figure in a long coat slogged through the wet. They pulled their hood tighter against the chill in the air. The figure's eyes moved to a hollow ad, watching the words blossom across the night sky amid the downpour. Don't you want to ascend up high? Up high, the glorious promise of the Sky City. The figure pivoted, taking in the terrain as far as they could. To the north stood the faint outlines of the sleek Central Park towers that ferried citizens to the heavens. In contrast, the south offered up a jagged brown seawall, one of several that loomed over the lower portions of New York. The figure tilted their head back, gazing up at the promise itself. Above them, the city in the sky loomed large, glittering and bright, buoyed by its anti-gravity technology. Up there, the rain pattered gently on windows and roofs, never finding an open crack, never slipping through to aggravate the residents nestled inside. Up high, a person wanted for nothing. Up high, rain was a steady melody to fall asleep to and not the stuff of nightmares. Footsteps made the figure turn. They ducked closer to the nearest building, letting shadows swallow them whole. They watched for someone to appear, looking left and right, as only one who knows they're being followed does. They waited, their breath white in the cold air. The night was quiet, save for the rain. It beat steadily. Soon it might stop completely, only to be replaced by an intense heat that would burn skin and take one's breath away. There was no telling with the weather. Not anymore. But for now, the rain hid the sound of the footsteps as they started again. The figure, still pressed against the wall, found themselves pulled back to the words of the hollow ad. Find yourself in the sky. Find yourself up high. The figure hugged themselves against the chill. They took a step forward, letting the light of the hollow warm their face with its radiance, their arms falling to their sides. For a brief moment, they forgot about the rain. They didn't see the person behind them until it was too late.
Chapter 1. Zuberi. Each punch brought Zuberi a bit closer to peace. The bag she was working was ancient, peeling in places, with lopsided stuffing that left her knuckles smarting after the beating. She was going to need to do some rehab on it soon. Otherwise, she'd just be punching leather. Zuberi stepped back from the bag, taking a breath in the cool morning air. She rubbed absently at the silver scar on her chin, tossing her locked hair away from her face as she forced herself to slow her breathing. Zuberi knew that part of mastering the fighting forms was mastering the breath. It couldn't be all punching and kicking. Ever since her father had started to train her in Nubian fighting forms, he'd stressed the importance of mindfulness, of honing one's thoughts before landing each blow. Her father had drilled this philosophy into her brain ever since she was small, when it was her tiny fist connecting with his palm in their living room. Now Zuberi had more than outgrown training in that living room, mostly because it doubled as her bedroom. So she'd gotten creative, something she'd never had a problem with. Sometimes she'd train in an empty warehouse. Other times she'd train in the scraggly Hudson scrapyards with her open access to the river. At school, there was the gym, which she used on occasion. But she preferred places in nature. One of the reasons she made the trek so early to Minerva Park. Nature, with its serenity and stillness, made it easier for her to find an organic connection between the human body and the outer world.